Hello everyone, this lesson covers your introduction section for your capstone project. Course outcome number 1 is covered in your introduction by explaining the relevance of key findings from your literature on your focus topic. So really building the relevance of your work through providing background information. Course outcome 2 is demonstrated by justifying the relevance of alternate global perspectives or topics. So as you're identifying the background information to include, you will want to be deliberate in providing a more holistic view on the topic that integrates diverse voices. You will demonstrate course outcome 3 by designing feasible research that addresses a gap in current understanding. And course outcome 4 is also part of your introduction section, as indicated by your utilization of best practices for written and oral professional communication, including grammar and syntax, clarity, terminology, language, citations, and narration. The summative rubric for the introduction section indicates that exemplary demonstration of the course outcomes through the introduction section includes formulating a research question that addresses a gap in understanding substantiated by credible research across disciplines to explore using a theoretical framework, integrating relevant global perspectives to substantiate the global relevance of the focus topic and research questions, and enhancing best communication practices with visuals to support audience understanding. To help you in getting there, those 3 demonstrations are further broken down into smaller parts in your draft of your introduction section. This includes communicating what is known by synthesizing findings from credible, valid primary resources to substantiate claims about the topic, and comparing relevant global perspectives on the topic to contextualize the research question. Through discussing what is known, this will also reveal gaps in understanding. Your next task is to substantiate the relevance of addressing the identified gap in current understanding of the focus topic. The final piece is explaining how exploring the research question will address the gap in understanding of the topic, and justifying how the application of a specific theoretical framework can support addressing the identified gap in understanding the topic. The introduction is approximately 4 paragraphs, approximately 15% of the paper's content. As discussed, the main parts of the introduction section include what is currently known, what is unknown, why knowing what is unknown matters, and how to research the unknown. The first 2 paragraphs might focus on what is understood globally about your topic and where there are still gaps. This section includes an overview of background information on your focus topic. So this means using peer-reviewed research that represents diverse perspectives to back up all claims made in the introduction. There will likely be a lot of citations, and you want to make sure that you are adhering to APA formatting for that piece. It is good practice to progress from the more general ideas down to specific information, explaining the current condition of the problem and previous studies that are relevant while you're then identifying a gap. And you won't go into huge explanation in these parts of your resources that you are citing, as that will come up in the discussion section more, where you'll go through the specific research that was done and how it either aligns or contradicts with your findings for your project. The next paragraph, number 3, can be spent on a discussion around the relevance of your work. In other words, why this gap in knowledge is important to explore. And finally, paragraph 4 can center around how to learn about the unknown. So this is a brief overview of what your project is, not the details on the protocols, but that you are writing a research proposal, for example, to further explore the unknown and answer that research question. Here you will state your research question. You might have a hypothesis as well, but really just a brief overview of what the project is, so your audience can clearly see how your research question will address the gap in knowledge and how your findings will complement existing claims. This is an important part of the project because it sets the stage for what you are doing for your project, why it matters, and what the audience should expect in the next sections of your work. For the format for everyone, this is really an area where you want to be focused and concise in the information that you're communicating. And really the aim is to increase audience understanding of the study that you're doing, what is currently known, and the relevance of your work. You want to use an active voice and adhere to conventions, again, such as the APA citations, naming systems, the use of abbreviations, all of those pieces. You want to really make sure that you're adhering to these conventions here. So for example, with the abbreviations, this would be stating the word in full the first time that you see it with parentheses on the abbreviation, and then you can go ahead and use the abbreviation following that. How this section might look in a research proposal, for example, is where the objectives are described rather than the procedures. So here you can see an example taken directly from the Husson University form for IACUC, and this is what is asked as far as giving that defense and justifying the relevance of the project. Here you can see the consideration of the work's relevance to human or animal health, the advancement of knowledge, or the good of society. So again, the focus really is looking at how can we frame the work that you're doing and support the relevance of that. Here are the references, and please reach out to your instructor with any questions that you have.